Hello everyone, welcome to this video. So in the previous video, we had created this program interface, and also we had created the functionality, which indicates the clicked page option, in a modern style when a page option is clicked. So in this video, we will complete this program. We will create the pages interface, which is associated with each page option, and we will create the functionality, which allows you to switch between pages, by clicking the pages options. So without wasting any time, let's start to create. Let's talk about how we will create the pages interface. In this program interface, we had created this frame, called the pages options frame, and inside the pages options frame, we had created the pages options and their indicators. To create the pages interface for each page option, first here we will create a frame, called the main frame. And inside this main frame, we will create the pages interface and their content. So let's start to create the main frame, and then we will create the pages interface inside the main frame. And we will put this main frame in the root window. And here I will set the FG color gray to the main frame, which will make the main frame more visible. I have set the FG color gray of the main frame for temporary, because I want to show you how the main frame is looking in the root window. And now here I will pack the main frame in the root window. And I will set the main frame side to the left, and I will set fill in both, and I will set the expand true. And also I will set the pad Y5, and the pad X5. And the main frame is ready. Let's run this program. And here you can see, the main frame is created, and it's appearing in the gray color, because I have set the FG color gray of this main frame. And you can see, how the main frame is looking in the root window, and now we will create the pages interface inside the main frame. But before I will set the FG color of the main frame, which is the FG color of the root window. Using the cget method, I will get the FG color of the root window. Simply here I will specify the FG color property name, to get the value of the FG color property. And you can see, the root window FG color is applied to the main frame, that's because it's not visible. And now we will start to create the login page interface. So let's see how we will create the login page interface inside the main frame. First here I will create a function called login page. Inside this login page function, we will create the each widget of the login page interface, and also we will put the each widget in the main frame. First we will create this heading label of the login page interface. And I will put this label widget in the main frame. So inside this function, I am creating this label widget, and I have put this label widget in the main frame. And also here I will set the heading label text. And also I will set the font style and the font size to the label. And also I will place this label in the main frame. And this heading label is ready. Now let me explain why I have created this login page function, and why I have created this label inside this function. First of all, this label widget I have put in the main frame, and I have created this label widget inside the login page function. So if I will call the login page function, then this label widget will be placed in the main frame. So it gives you control over what you want to display in the main frame. By calling the login page function, then only the content of the login page interface can be displayed in the main frame. So if I will call the login page function, then this label widget will be displayed in the main frame. So here I have called the login page function. Let's see what happens if I run this program. Here you can see the label widget is placed in the main frame, which we have created inside the login page function. So let's create the other content of the login page interface, inside the login page function. So here I am creating this entry widget, to enter the email address. And we will put this entry widget in the main frame. And also I will set the width 230, and the height 35 to this entry widget. And also I will set the placeholder text to this entry widget. Basically the placeholder text is a temporary text, that appears inside the input field to guide the user, what kind of input is expected. And also I will set the border width value 2 pixels, which will add the around border thickness to this entry widget. And also I will set the color to the around border thickness. And also I will set the corner radius value 10, which will make the entry widget corner rounded. And I will place the entry widget in the main frame. So the email address entry widget is ready. Let's run this program. Here you can see, the email address input entry widget is ready. And similarly we will create the entry widget for entering the password. The both entry widgets are ready. Now let's create this login button. And the login page interface is ready. Let's run this program. And we have created the login page interface. And now press the subscribe button, if you have not subscribed to the Tkinter Hub. And similarly we will create the sign up page interface, as we have created the login page interface. Here I will create another function called the signup page. Inside the signup page function, we will create the interface of the signup page, similarly as we have created the login page interface. To create the signup page interface, I will use the code of the login page interface. Here I will copy all these stuff. Here I have put the code of the login page interface inside the signup page function. Here simply I will rename this heading label text. Here instead of login I will write signup, and also I will change the X position of this heading label. And this entry widget of the email address, and this entry widget of the password is correct, don't need the changes. Simply here we will create another entry widget, to enter the confirm password. And the signup page interface is ready. By calling the signup page function, we can display the signup page interface in the main frame. Let's run this program. And we have created the signup page interface. So by calling the signup page function, or the login page function, we can display an interface in the main frame. That's why I have created these interfaces inside the functions. So it gives you control over which interface you want to display. And similarly now we will create the Contact Us page interface. To create the Contact Us page interface, I will use some lines of code from the signup page interface. So here I will copy and use these lines of code from the signup page function. So here I have put the signup page interface lines of code in the Contact Us page function. So let's make some changes. Here in the heading label text, instead of signup page, I will write Contact Us. And this heading label is ready. And this email address entry widget is correct, don't need to make changes. Here in this entry widget we will make some changes. This entry widget we will use for entering the subject. Now let me show you how the Contact Us page interface is looking. By calling the Contact Us page function, we can display the Contact Us page interface inside the main frame. And now here we will create a label widget, and also we will create a text box for entering message, and also the submit button. And this label widget is ready, and now we will create this text box for entering the message. So we will use the CTK text box widget for entering the message. And the message box is ready, and now we will create this submit button. And the Contact Us page interface is ready. Let's run this program. And here you can see, we have created the Contact Us page interface. And now we will create the last one, the About page interface, so let's start to create. Here I am creating this label widget. Here I am creating this label widget, where we will display the About page information. Here in this variable, I will store the text information which we will display in the label widget. In this variable, I have stored the text, which we will display in the About page. Simply I will set this text to the label widget, which will display the text in the About page. And the About page interface is ready. Let's run this program. And we have created all the page's interfaces. And now press the subscribe button, if you have not subscribed to the Tkinter Hub. And now we have to create the last one functionality, which is the major functionality of this project. Yes, I am talking about the switch between pages functionality. So by clicking the pages options, we will be able to switch between the pages. So this functionality is very simple to create, so let's start to create. But before we need to set by default the login page interface pre-switched in the main frame. Because if you remember, in the previous video we had set the login page option indicator by default pre-indicated, so whenever this program will start, then the login page interface will be by default pre-switched in the main frame, as the login page option indicator is by default pre-indicated. To set the login page interface by default pre-switched, here simply at the end of the program and before the main loop, we will call the login page function. Now whenever this program will start, then the login page interface will be by default displayed in the main frame. And now you can see, the login page interface is pre-displayed, as the login page option is pre-indicated. Now let's start to create the functionality, which will allow us to switch between pages, by clicking the pages options. As you can see in the showing example, we can switch between pages, only by clicking the pages options. And this is our current program. In our current program, by clicking the pages options we can only switch indication of the clicked page option. So basically the switch between pages functionality, we will create inside a function, which is used to switch the clicked page option indicator. So if you remember, in the previous video we had created this indicate function, which is used to switch or indicate the clicked page option indicator. Inside this indicate function, we will create the switch between pages functionality. First of all, in the indicate function, we will take a new argument called page. In the page argument, we will take the page function as an argument. So basically in the page argument, we will specify which page interface will be displayed or switched in the main frame. So these pages interfaces functions, we will pass as argument. Through this page argument we will call the specified page interface function, to display page interface in the main frame. So here after indicating the clicked page option of indicator, then here we will switch the page interface of the clicked page option. But before switching the page interface in the main frame, we need to clear current displaying page interface from the main frame. For example, if the login page is currently displaying in the main frame, and if we press the sign up page option to switch the sign up page interface, then we need to clear the login page interface, before switching the sign up page interface in the main frame. So before switching the clicked page option of the page interface, we will clear the current displaying page interface. So basically here for loop through, we will get each child widget from the main frame, and we will destroy everything inside from the main frame. The winfo_children method will return a list of the all widgets objects, which are currently inside the main frame. So here I will destroy each child widget from the main frame. So here we have cleared the current displaying page interface from the main frame, and now we will call the given page interface function, to switch or display the clicked page option of page interface in the main frame. So here I will call the given page interface function, which will be specified in the page argument. And the switch between pages functionality is ready, but now we just need to do last one more thing. So now we just need to pass the pages interfaces functions in the page argument, to specify which page interface will switch, when a page option is clicked. Here if this login page option will be clicked, then we will switch the login page interface in the main frame. So here in the indicate function of page argument I will specify the login page interface function. Notice here we need to pass only the function name, without these function parentheses. And now if the login page option will be clicked, then the login page interface will be switched in the main frame. And similarly we will do this with the other pages options. We will pass the page option of associated page interface function in the page argument. So here in the signup page option of indicate function, in the page argument we will pass the signup page interface function. So if the signup page option will be clicked, then we will switch the signup page interface in the main frame. And here is the contact us page option. Similarly here in the page argument we will pass the contact us page interface function. And similarly we will do this with this last one about page option. So if the about page option will be clicked, then the about page interface will switch in the main frame, as I have specified in the page argument. So we have added the all pages options associated page interface function, in the page argument. Now let's run this program. As you can see here currently the login page interface is displaying. Let's see if I click the sign up page option, to switch the sign up page interface. And you can see the sign up page interface is switched, when I click the sign up page option. Now let's see if I click the contact us page option. And you can see the contact us page interface is switched, when I click the contact us page option. Let's see if I click the about page option. And here you can see, the about page interface is switched. And we have created the functionality, which allows us to switch between pages, by clicking the pages options. And congratulations, we have completed this program. And dear viewers, thank you so much for your support, and for your patience. And thanks for watching this video. See you in the next video.